Can I say, comrades, that I came to conference, and we all came to conference, in clement weather. The rain wasn't shining on us. But you know what? If you're like me, you had a rosy glow in your heart after what happened on Thursday. Absolutely amazing, the stuff that went on. And I want to say, I've always been a proud trade unionist, whether I was a shop steward representing people in Scott's Bakery, whether I was a regional organiser in the Northwest going round recruiting new members, or a district secretary, as we had at the time, representing the people of Manchester, which was a great job. And then national president, when I was the national president, always proud to be with members, and that has not changed. But you know what I'm proud of? The thing that really fills me with pride is the decision that was taken a couple of years ago by this conference to support Jeremy Corbyn. Absolutely amazing decision. And I would remind you where that decision came from. Do you remember the motion that was calling for us to come out of the Labour Party? It was asking us to withdraw because of the right-wing crap we'd had ladled on us for years. And we asked the question of you, why, instead of withdrawing from the Labour Party, why don't we support somebody who supports the same values? Now, okay, we were backing an outsider. We know the reality was that Jeremy Corbyn only got on the ballot paper with 1 minute to go. We had to control people. They were cajoling right-wingers just to make sure there was a fair debate that went on within the Labour Party. But that was down to this union, the first union to nominate him, the first union to support him when it came to the second ballot as well. So we've consistently been there making sure that he was there. Since then, we've been spoon-fed lies from the Tories. We've had media slurs, including calling me the thing they call me. We've had pollsters who've given wrong directions and sowed the seed of doubt into people's heads about what was going to happen. But the UK, the people of the UK, restored my faith in people. Do you know? Despite all the crap that had gone on, the people voted for change. They voted for a change in political direction, voting in their millions for a new way of doing politics. Through all the coup, and he's gone through 2 elections, he was vilified in the coup. And do you know what it said to me on the other side? That Jeremy Corbyn is a stronger person than what we first thought. He's always been a conviction politician. The manifesto that you all voted on last week wasn't a gimmick to hook you in. It wasn't a gimmick to get you to vote Labour. It was something that he has passionately believed in and preached for more than 30 years in politics. That is the strength of a man. And he came out despite all the pressure that was put on him. He came out, the only thing he wasn't doing was singing and whistling. The guy has got the character of steel. Absolutely amazing. He is a real, true working class hero as far as I'm concerned. I want you to just imagine, close your eyes and imagine what would have happened had the right-wing press, instead of vilifying him, had come out and said, you know what, that manifesto is pretty decent. It's going to do a lot of good for people in this country. Imagine the right-wing press lauding the proposals that he was putting forward. Imagine the Sun and the Mail actually praising him for what he put forward rather than what he did. Imagine what would have happened if those 171 rebel MPs from within his own party had stood by him. Imagine where we would have been. Because I'll tell you what, a bit later on we'll talk about what's happened to them. The fact is that people like Blair and Mandelson and Campbell, they vilified him. Mandelson saying he wanted every single day of his life to stop Jeremy Corbyn ever taking power in this country. Well, I've got to say a message to those, if you don't like it, if you don't want to go along with what the Labour Party has, then get out of it. Go and find somewhere else. I question myself how working people can vote for the Tories. I just don't know. If ever, I've said to Shirley, if ever you find a day when I'm ill enough or whatever, when I'm going to vote Tory, just throw me a bottle of pills or something. I don't want to do it. I never want to be in that position. I don't understand how they can say they're the party of working people. How can they be the party of working people when they do what they've done? We've talked this morning about denying access to justice to stop you taking your employer to court when you feel wronged. They brought in the Trade Union Act, which is just another link in the chain. It isn't coincidental, but what it's to do is there to stop you. You know, Jeff, when you said before the limits for public service workers, those limits are going to be enforced upon all of us. It isn't just public service workers. We have to run the ballots in exactly the same way. And how can a government that purports to be of the working people, how can they bring in a joke living wage, because that's what it was a joke living wage that they've reneged on ever since, but how can they bring it in without also bringing in protective legislation that stopped unscrupulous employers from cutting benefits, from cutting overtime payments, from cutting bank holiday payments? How can that be a party of working people? The press, they're trying to play that Jeremy was a loser. All the things, they were playing this card that he was always going to be the loser. But, you know, May, although she got more seats last week, and she got more votes slightly, it's what I'd call a Pyrrhic victory. Because to me, Jeremy Corbyn was the winner. May lost. She went into an election with a not a vast majority, she had a majority. And now she hasn't got a majority. And now she is relying on the DUP to prop her up. And I'm not going to go into any tirades calling anyone from the DUP. But we were just talking before that it is now called the made-up party. It's May, DUP, made up. It was the biggest own goal in political history. I never, ever remember that happened before. She goes with an uncosted manifesto. She does personal attacks to the 8th degree on both Jeremy and John and Diane Abbott. She has done nothing for anybody within that manifesto, right across all facets of the society. If you think about what she did to the old people, pensioners, older people, I'm saying older because I'm nearly there myself, older people, taking away the triple lock, taking away winter fuel payments, and then worst of all, bringing in a dementia tax or a stealth death tax, whatever you want to call it. It was cruel, it was heinous, it should never have happened, and she paid the price for it. But not only that, not only did she take away what was considered to be a Tory support, she actually took away the foods from our children's mouths. You know, we called Thatcher Maggie the Milk Snatcher. Well, May is the meal stealer. And replacing a hot meal, which many of the kids who get it, it's the only meal they get. Don't forget all we've gone through in this country. The only hot meal that many of those children get, and replaced it with a breakfast, not a 7p breakfast, it actually worked out at 6.8p. Now, I want any nutritionist in the country to come and tell me, what are we going to buy that's nutritious, that's going to fill a kid's stomach for 6.8p? Because I can't think of it. The only thing that's going to fill a stomach is a balloon. Actually, nothing at all. She's lost a majority because of her arrogance and her contempt for the people that the government is meant to serve. And she's now paying the price. You seen yesterday, her 2 advisors did one. They resigned, they left her. She's got now more enemies than she's got friends. She's got absolutely no authority. She's lost that much authority, now even her husband is refusing to take the bins out. But you know, the thing is, and Pat and I were talking about this last night, what she'll do, soon She'll either resign or she'll be forced to fall on her sword. Yeah? It'll depend. When the time's right for Boris or David Davis or one of the other crooked lot to step in, it won't be at our bidding. It'll be when they're ready to do it. The Tories, you've seen it over the years, they change their leaders like they change their socks. As soon as somebody becomes unelectable, they get rid of them. They think what they do is they wipe the board clean. And I've got to say, to some extent, that's happened in the past. Thatcher went and we still elect a Tory government. It's crazy to think about. I'm going to say to you, never, ever, ever let them forget. Do not allow them to wipe the board clean. Remind them at every step of what they've done. Never let them forget the lies they told to get into power. Never let them forget the austerity that they heaped upon millions of people in the 5th richest country in the world. They did that. That's their policies. Don't let them forget the amount of homeless that sleep on our street. Don't let them forget the bedroom tax that caused misery within communities. And never let them forget the people who committed suicide because of the sanctions and whatever they did. They have got blood on their hands. And don't let them tell you that food banks, people go to food banks because they're there. If they weren't there, they wouldn't go. The fact is, if there weren't food banks, depending on the charity of many others, there would be mass starvation in this country. That's the sad indictment of where we are with the Tories. The fact is that people would starve. Never, never, ever let these bastards wipe the slate clean. Never. You know, calling them the nasty party, I don't think does justice. This goes beyond being a nasty party. This is a heinous party. It is an evil party that is there only for the rich people in our society. They do not care about the working class. They don't care about the disabled. They don't care about the poor. They only care about the people who pay into their pockets. And, you know, the polls this morning, we were having a talk about at lunchtime, the polls are now starting to show that should there be an election tomorrow, we would have a Labour government. We would have a Labour government. The polls have moved widely the other way. So going from where the Tories had a 24-point lead, we're now talking where Labour, I think, has got an 8-point lead. And that's the way we've got to go. Polls that would put Jeremy in number 10. And that's what I want. You know, he's the politician I've been waiting for all my life, all my political life. You know, most of his policies would become law. People would have homes. Trade union laws would be repealed. We'd have the health and safety executive fully funded instead of allowing people to be murdered and maimed at work. And of course, we would have our health service fully funded, free at the point of access, like it was meant to be, going back to 1945. It would be remiss of me, though, Chair, not to mention the MPs. It's easy to castigate the 171 who held 600,000 Labour Party members to ransom, because that's what they did. It would be remiss of me not to praise those MPs who stood by Jeremy and stood by John McDonnell to put forward their policies. Many of them facing horrendous personal attacks. And no one more, I've got to say, than Diane Abbott. You know, Diane Abbott would not be my first choice as the person to go forward and represent the party. But the fact is, she did it. And she did it because there was nobody else going to do it. She stood up and she was counted. And I think they should be absolutely praised for what they did in the face of the onslaught they were getting. But she pursued all these policies of Labour without fear, without favour, and we only have to look what's happened to her now. That's caused Diane to be ill. I want to finish, though, Chair, by thanking all our members who gave up their own time, donated money and whatever to make sure that we had the election that we got last week. Because without your help, things wouldn't have been as good. You know, we nearly touched victory on Thursday, and what we've done is we've set the basis for victory in the very near future. I hope that Jeremy can force it out. I hope that we can build on where we were. You know, whether it was members leafleting, whether it was attending hustings, whether it was sitting in polling booths taking numbers or driving people, on election day, it worked. And I had the pleasure of spending election day with Frank Loveday and Dave Hunt down in Southampton, canvassing down there in a Tory marginal that's still a Tory marginal. The only thing is, instead of being a Tory marginal of 2,500, it's now a Tory marginal of 37. And we'll take it next time. Believe me, we will take it. I noted this morning when the President was saying that some of us were listening to the results in a bar. What he means was, he was listening to the results in a bar on Thursday, and I, up until 4:30, sat up in bed, texting him every result that came through. Nearly all the 600 seats who so-and-so won that, and getting them all. And every time Labour got a victory where we took a seat off somebody else, he had a shot. Well, Friday morning, one of us had repetitive strain injury, and one of us had wobbly legs, and I'll tell you, there was nothing wrong with my walking. Conference, neither should we forget the role that was played by young people in this election. It was absolutely amazing. They mobilised, they were going around universities and colleges, they were talking to their friends who weren't registered and dragging them in, making sure they registered. But I'll tell you what, there's still a lot of people who haven't registered. And so there's a job for us all. We've got to make sure that we behave like all those young people and use their example. Go back, talk to your friends. Make sure those friends register to vote, because it's coming soon. Make sure that they vote Labour. Talk to them about the promises, the manifesto pledges that are there that are going to benefit, if not them, it will benefit their families, their friends, the people that they work with. Comrades, we've got to keep the momentum going. Register to vote, go home and prepare for government. Solidarity.